中共外交部在环球网上谴责美卫生部长访问台湾。黄奇帆认为，中美之间的摩擦已经上升到准备进行斗争，中共控制的大陆将进入内循环模式。环球网表示，中共政府对待美国的反制措施越来越成熟。墙内大外宣欺骗民众，称香港良心黎智英被抓，香港人表示大快人心。美国海关宣布，从9月25日起，港产货必须标明来源地为中国。中共国的失业，美名其曰灵活就业。字里行间透露着粮食危机。成都突降暴雨，天雷滚滚，部分街道被淹没。台风米克拉登陆福建，掀起强风暴雨，最强风力12级，漳州一厂房被吹倒。
哎呀，天上飘着大翻盖，翻盖没了，上去塑料纸，屋里全是水，
太阳能都刮没了，火树也连根给我薅下来了。
南枣门石子，南枣门石子，你看这儿有一个防摩的的，把净滩撒的，走这货，现在我撒一个，那是大净滩，黄上头跑了。
中国共产党坚持人民至上、生命至上。中国政府交出的抗疫答卷，经得起时间和历史的考验。这与美国政党的政治私利至上形成鲜明的对比。美国当前新冠病毒确诊病例已经超过500万，死亡病例超过16万。与其机械重复甩锅中国，集中精力抗击疫情、拯救生命，才是美方真正应该做的事情。
我们在这边也重申，中华人民共和国的政府没有一天统治过台湾，它自然无权在国际间宣称台湾人民。只有民选的台湾的政府才可以在国际间代表台湾人民，这个道理再简单不过。如果他们是强要用虚晃的一个中国原则强加于其他国家以及台湾人民，这只会引起大家的一个反感跟厌恶。中华人民共和国要批评其他国家之前，我们建议他先看看他们自己里面内部发生。
美国卫生部长阿扎尔拜访蔡英文总统，因疫情影响行中国传统拱手礼。此次来访是台美防疫合作的重要一大步，未来将持续加强合作。
我呢，今天看见这个叫陈建的这种狗逼烂渣渣发这种反人类的语言嘛，我第一反应是不舒服，因为这种奴畜太多了嘛，一看就是司马南、胡锡进比这种狗逼烂贱狗就还低级的贱狗。但当时我还是拿他当走狗看的， 哎呀，结果朋友们发过来的这个真把人吓死了，我操！听党的话，跟党走，我操！干部家庭出身，政府大院成长，这他妈的区中之区，处下之处，我操他妈的，这他妈的连个区都算不上，我操！哎呀，所以中国娱乐圈见低级，影视圈见低级，就是这种奴畜，借机他妈奸淫女演员，玩弄女演员，就是这种号称听党的话跟党走的最低级的处区才干得出来的事儿，也只有这种处和区才是真正的听党的话跟党走。
More diplomatic tensions between the United States and China about Hong Kong and more. As you just noted, Beijing slapping sanctions today on those senators. They have been critical of China on a variety of political, strategic, human rights fronts. The exact terms of the sanctions were unspecified today. Also against Representative Chris Smith and several heads of international, including human rights groups. They are not directly involved in Washington and Trump administration policy. This, yes, in a response to sanctions placed by the U.S. on Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam and others last week, following Beijing's imposing of a National Security Act on the territory that is seen as quashing any hope for democracy for that area. A sign of the law today, the offices of the Apple Daily, an independent newspaper and news site which has been critical of the regime, raided by authorities. This is the first time the media has been directly targeted by this law. It's been feared that the freedom of press, which is existing there in Hong Kong, will be challenged. Also, the media tycoon and head of that news group, Jimmy Lai, he was taken away. He's the highest profile figure targeted by the law. Sandra, it appears that China going forward, undaunted by any moves by the United States and others to do what it wants to do in Hong Kong and elsewhere.
Police in Hong Kong have arrested media tycoon Jimmy Lai, an outspoken critic of China's policies in Hong Kong. A top aide said Lai is being held over suspected collusion with foreign forces under the controversial national security law imposed by Beijing in June. The 71-year-old owns popular tabloid Apple Daily. He's one of 7 people police said they arrested during raids on Monday.
We must stop politicizing the virus and instead be united in our condemnation of how this virus came to America, how this virus came to the world, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to find out, and we're very angry about it.
Can you give us an update on China? Do you think that your administration will respond to the sanctions that China announced this morning on American officials?
Well, we've already responded in many different ways. We're talking a lot about China. We shouldn't have been talking about China. We did a phase 1 deal, and it was a wonderful deal, and all of a sudden it means very little in the overall import of things. They should have never allowed what happened to the world, including us. But this was released into Europe, and it was released into the U.S., and it was released all throughout the world, but it wasn't released into China. And we were doing numbers that will, just were incredible, and we hope to be able to do them perhaps even next year. I think we're going to have an incredible year next year, but that will never pay for the loss of life in our country and all over the world. So we view China differently than we did 8 months ago, very much differently.
So China has sanctioned, in response to our sanctioning some of their lawmakers, they've sanctioned 11 of ours, including Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, Pat Toomey. We have, and also another congressman from South Jersey. No Trump officials. What's your reaction to China's reaction to our sanctioning of them?
Yeah, China stands on notice because this president has been unmistakable in standing up to China. You've seen him with the Phase 2 China deal, pushing that deal through like no other president could or has in history. He's taken action sanctioning against the abusive treatment of the Uyghurs, no longer recognizing Hong Kong's autonomous status because of Chinese intervention. So this president has stood unmistakable. China may try to sanction back, as you just noted, but this president has stood firm against China, and he'll continue.
For the first time in a generation, America is pushing back on China. On all fronts, President Trump has called a halt to China's aggressive expansion. He's blamed China for the virus. He's condemned the crackdown in Hong Kong. He sent 2 aircraft carriers to the Pacific. But most important of all, the president has pushed back hard on China's technology companies. Actually, he hasn't just pushed back. He's blocked them, forced them to retreat. On technology, he is playing serious hardball. Huawei is the biggest Chinese tech company. Its name actually means Chinese achievement. The president has blocked them from the most valuable markets in the world, including America, and that is a slam. TikTok is China's very successful social media platform. The president has beaten them up. Sell your American operations, he says, because in a couple of months you are banned. That's hardball. It's no surprise that technology is the battlefield. At this moment, America reigns supreme, and the president wants to keep it that way. It's not classic capitalism. It's not free trade. It's not open markets. It's President Trump putting America first. That was his policy in 2016, and it's clearly his policy for the election 3 months from now. President Trump, Commander-in-Chief of American business. We have never seen anything like it before, but we are seeing it now.
I want to ask as a corollary to that as well, or maybe this is the explanation, is these tech companies, these big corporates, they are absolutely manifesting, whether you look at the people pushing out this information, whether they're using their social media, whatever, to virtue signal, whatever it is, the big sporting organizations here in the country, but really the big tech organizations, is it because they are so avowedly in bed with elements that are hostile to the United States of America that they really don't see a problem with backing these people up? Or is it the Project Veritas element of this, where it's actually hard-left individuals who have managed to get jobs and infiltrate these organizations? Or does it go right to the top, and you looked into the Facebook board, remember that Facebook board, and you look at the background of who these people are? Or is it all of those things and more?
I really think it's all of those things combined. Definitely with regards to the Chinese Communist Party, there's business interests interwoven there. And again, there really is an element of infiltration. I'd point viewers to go to the National Pulse website to look at a piece we did on how mainstream media organizations like CNN, Washington Post, and huge American tech companies like Microsoft are funding Tsinghua University, quote, Marxist journalism school. So while some of these companies, at least on the American side, may not be Marxist if you read their charter statements, they're willing and openly collaborating with their Chinese counterparts, which I'd also like to talk about TikTok and how the National Pulse uncovered a letter in which the company's CEO said that he would use his company ByteDance, which again is the Beijing-based parent company to TikTok, to promote, quote, socialist core values. And this TikTok came on none other than Tencent, which is the platform set to be banned by the Trump administration soon, where he issued a nearly 1,000-word apology.
Hang on. Let's just be very clear about this. So this is the head of ByteDance.
Yes.
2 years ago, comes out, Steve, with a statement that says he intends to use the company to back up, what is it, the four things?
The four consciousness, which for listeners, a high-level CCP apparatchik defined as, quote, the fundamental principle of strengthening consciousness is to follow the ideology, political thinking, and deeds of the CCP Central Committee with Xi as General Secretary.
And remember, Steve, this is the organization that all these other big tech firms are willing to work with.
Hang on. Natalie, go back and do that again. The American people have got to hear this. This is what's in broad daylight. Natalie, walk us through again what exactly you're talking about. What's the association? And read us that comment.
Well, ByteDance CEO said that the, quote, deep-seated problems for his company, and this was after one of their first apps had been banned for posting, quote, improper content. Was
banned in China.
Banned in China, yes, now lives beyond the Great Firewall. But that it included, quote, or their company rather, included a, quote, weak understanding of the four consciousness, a lack of socialist core values, and a biased guidance of public opinion. And as I said, the high-level CCP apparatchik, a member of the Standing Committee, defined four consciousness as the fundamental principle of strengthening consciousness to follow the ideology, political thinking, and deeds of the CCP Central Committee with Xi as General Secretary.
Steve, we've got 1 minute left here. And just before we break, and obviously we're going to come back to this and a whole lot more, but Natalie, didn't they also express preference for Chinese Communist Party members in their hiring process?
Yes, and in the latest iteration, after this company that was banned, they explicitly placed preference on hiring Chinese Communist Party members to have legions of thousands of people tasked with moderating content, scrubbing anything that ran counter to Chinese Communist Party narratives. And there's another buried lead in the report, which I think is worth hitting when we come back.
We'll get to that when we come back. Stephen K. Bannon, Jack Maxey Vishbur, and Natalie Winters, Raheem Kassam, and a whole lot more information. Natalie, I'm going to ask you the question when we return from the break. How was that not in President Trump's executive order? How is that not coming out of the White House? Why is that not being messaged by the Republicans on Capitol Hill? Oh, that's right. They rely on us to tell them. We'll be right back in just a second.
就是张守寿先生，他最关键，他叫他干掉他的一个关键人物就是沈南鹏，啊。沈南鹏是导致他被干掉的最核心的原因。Square 这个几乎是垄断了半个中国的这个互联网巨头，啊，这个沈南鹏他这个背景可不是那么简单的。你把马云他8辈祖宗绑在一起都给沈南鹏舔腚都不配。我第一次在公众面前谈沈南鹏，我第一次在这儿谈 Square 就是留给你们硅谷了算，啊。我没有说过吧？几年爆料了，这个沈南鹏在中共的这个级别相当于什么？对啊。现在我可以告诉你，小杨，不知道沈南鹏的，你看咱们战友爆料，天天都有人说，你见有人提过沈南鹏吗？为什么没有？
我知道呀。
沈南鹏的政治力量、经济力量、技术力量，你把这几个人绑在一起也不行。他是真正的大佬。马化腾啊，什么严严呐、熊小哥啊，马也这个阿里巴巴呀，这跟他不是一个级别。在中国，一切都说政治经济、政治科技，是吧？政治商业、政治互联网。你告诉我马云什么政治？马云是给人家当小三儿了，是吧？白手套。马化腾是比马云的政治地位要高。知道吗？那严严熊小哥那就是拉皮条的，那啥狗屁都不是，你知道吗？但是，啊，一半的政治家是马化腾，全政治家是沈南鹏，全超级政治家就叫马明哲。中国历史上这近几十年牛叉的人，啊，那真的是马明哲排第一，沈南鹏排第二。 你有在曼哈顿的能力，现在就在我这Long Island对面的房子啊，还有在美国的政治能力。我告诉你，都说是这个温迪邓啊介绍了伊万卡和库什纳认识，但是尼尔森那在库什纳和伊万卡和川普总统这块的影响力，那不知道大多少去了啊，那怎么弄啊？但是尼尔森是拿中国护照的，不拿美国护照，他能拿1000次美国护照，他不拿。
全球 CCP 病毒感染超过2000万，仅仅一天，巴西和墨西哥就报告了27000例感染。普京总统表示，俄罗斯已开发出第一个对病毒具有可持续免疫力的疫苗。新西兰在保持102天零感染记录后，病毒感染再次爆发。英国国家统计局称，截止6月份的3个月以来，英国的就业人数下降了22万。全球股市期货市场上涨，标准普尔500指数保持连涨的势头。参议员科顿说，中国的制裁对我影响不大，但永远不会停止为中共的受害者而战。川普总统预计，美国经济将以20%的速度增长，并将对中等收入家庭实施减税。